I'm Robert from LearnAudioEngineering.com, and today I'm going to be doing a companion video for my blog post on how to make a guitar amplifier. Today what I'm going to be talking about is how to set up a mic stand. In my blog post, I talk about some microphone techniques as well, which I'll demonstrate. If you haven't come here from my blog, you can check the description below, and I'll put a link in there for you to check it out. So first you want to start with an appropriate stand for the job. I really like stands that have these sliding turny dealies for the arm tightener. I find that you can get a better tighten, you can get your mic in there a bit more accurately, and it'll stay there a lot longer. And the height is something to note. So I'm making a guitar cabinet, so I'm using a short stand, something that can easily access this height. Sometimes I see a lot of people with like full-size mic stands trying to get really down low with a guitar amp or a kick drum, and it underneath a snare, and it's just I end up fighting with the stand, and I'm really not getting it in the right position. And it's better to use a short stand whenever possible, if they're available. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the stand completely loose. We're going to loosen all of the dials and the turnies and everything on it, so that we can freely move the mic. So I'm going to grab it like this, so I can move it. Mine doesn't have a vertical lift, so I'm gonna adjust the length of the arm here to get the height. Okay. Move this up to the center of the speaker. Perfect right there. And then I'm going to tighten the angle of the arm. And then the height of the arm. Okay, so now we have our microphone in place here in the center of the cone. So that's how we would set up one microphone stand. I now have a whole range of motion from just holding the arm and twisting. I can choose how much proximity I want, how close to the grill, or further away, less proximity. A lot of the microphone techniques that I talk about in my blog post are stereo microphone techniques, which means using two microphones. So I'm going to demonstrate some of those, and I'm going to bring in a second microphone, and I'll show this technique over again. Okay, so we're starting with everything loosey-goosey again, and what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to get this right over top of the other one. And I'm going to tighten it up here. Tighten the angle of the boom, and then the length of the arm. Great. So as you can see, those are about the same distance apart, one on top of the other. So what I'm going to do to create a difference between the one microphone and the other one is with the top one, I'm going to angle it. I'm going to angle it towards the edge of the cone. Alright, so here we have our first microphone. This one's pointing directly at the speaker grill, and it's going to be getting a brighter sound, more high frequencies. And this one that's offset a little bit, this is going to be getting less high frequencies. It's going to have a bit more of a mellow tone. It's going to attenuate some of that. So it's pointed about halfway between the edge of the speaker and the cone of the speaker. And what this is going to do is when you hard pan these two tracks, like a stereo track, you're going to get a very wide stereo image between the differences of the left and right channels. So this offset stereo miking technique is one that was developed by Andy Johns in the late 60s. He used this technique to record guitars for Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Chickenfoot, the Rolling Stones, the list goes on. He was a huge rock engineer. He worked at Olympic Records in London, Olympic Studios, sorry, in London. And he did some really great work. This technique was used extensively throughout his career, and you can use it too. It's really great. It's really this next technique is a bit more of an extreme example of the offsetting. It's a bit more unorthodox. What I'm going to do with the second mic is go at something like that. Try and get it just as close as the other one. Okay. So now what I'm doing here is I still have my first mic pointed directly at the center of the cone, getting the brightest sound possible. And with our second mic, we're actually not even pointed at the speaker cone. We're pointed straight down. So being 90 degrees off axis of the microphone capsule is going to greatly attenuate the high frequency information. And this can be a really cool technique for taming harsh guitar or amp combinations, as well as room mics. I've actually seen a spaced pair of 57s pointed straight up like this when miking drums. And what this does is it helps keep the cymbals from washing over the room mics, sort of monopolizing all that space. It captures a lot less high frequencies, and it sounds a lot more mellow. There are many other techniques that you can do. Of course, any of these will work in mono, and you can also use different distances. The one thing to keep in mind when doing things like that is the 3-to-1 rule. So the 3-to-1 rule is that phase will not be a concern if your second mic is 3 times the distance from your first mic. So this mic is touching the speaker fabric and is about an inch from the actual cone. So if this one is greater than 3 inches, it will be no problem. You can do this technique with more than 2 microphones. You can, if this is well, it's greater than 3 inches, but let's say this is 3 inches. You could do another one that's 9 inches, and so on and so forth. And you could really start to grow the ambience of this guitar track. This is a technique that has been used by Jimmy Page on his guitar amps. I know that he would take very small amps and just have them dimed and have a series of mics at different distances, and it would give him this huge sound to this one small guitar track. I know this technique has also been used by David Bowie on his vocals on the song Heroes. He would use a close mic in addition to 2 other mics at varying distances away with gates on the further mics. So when he would sing and be quiet, he would get that close, intimate, whispering in your ear sound. And then when he would yell and excite the room, the natural ambience of the room, those mics would turn on and he would get that natural reverb in the track using the combination of the 3 mics. So a really interesting technique. Really, really great way to kind of add some character to your sound, using mics at different distances to capture a little bit of the room. If you have any flat, smooth surfaces in your room, that's kind of interesting looking, feel free to put a mic in front of it. Right. So thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Again, I'm Robert from Learn Audio Engineering, and happy recording.